Broadcasting live from the Jersey Shore, it's Coach Kev on the Damage 365 Radio Network.
Episode of the Indie Super Show here on the Damage 365 Radio Network. Coach Kev leading your way today, flying solo at the friendly confines of nearby Camp Crystal Lake up here in Blairstown, New Jersey, as we are taking the show via satellite. Today we'll have an awesome show lined up for you today, as we have former WWE superstar, the man who headed off the Exotic Express, Adam Rose, will be joining us very momentarily. And then later on in the show, we'll have international indie superstar Thunder Rosa joining us around the 6:30, 6:40 half hour point. And no birthday shout-outs today. We'll list those on our website at facebook.com/damage365. So we don't want to forget you, but because of time restraints, we don't have the time to do it. This was a last-minute interview that was booked with us, and we have to thank Eric Sims of ESS Promotions for making this happen, as Adam Rose heads off his Northeast tour starting next week and pretty much runs until the end of the year. He'll be at Big Event, Legends of the Ring, and a whole bunch of other private signings and meet and greets. We'll get to that a little later. Basically, it's just going to be the two interviews today, so we're going to give Mr. Adam Rose a call right now as we're dialing him in.
Hello.
Adam, how are you today?
I'm good. You're broken up, though.
I'm breaking up my signal?
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
Okay, let's...
Want me to call you back?
Oh, wait, no, here we go. I got to turn it to the microphone part that you can hear me. How's that?
Yeah, you crackling up.
Crackling out. All right, yeah, let's call you back. I'm going to call you back from another line.
Let me call you. Maybe that line will be better.
Okay, I'll call you right back. Man, this happens. Let's try it. Let's get this out of the way. Live radio, folks. This is why we like live radio. Screw-ups happen. Oh, wait, he's calling me back. All right, hold that. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, awesome. Might have just been a bad connection. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have former WWE superstar Adam Rose, the man who led off the Exotic Express through many, many towns of the United States. And I want to welcome you to the show and welcome you to the world of indie wrestling again.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Our buddy Eric Sims of ESS Promotions made this happen, so after we talk to you a little bit, we're going to get into some of the meet and greets and signings that you're going to be doing under his banner, so we'll get to that a little later. I just want to talk to you a little bit about, pre-WWE, like how you got into the business, and we'll jump into your career with WWE and then post-career with them. Now, how did you get into wrestling to begin with? Like, what made you decide, like, this is something that you wanted to do?
I think I was like 9 or 10 years old when I saw professional wrestling for the first time. You must remember, I was living in South Africa, so we got everything like 10 years after you guys got it. So we were watching, like, something that you guys had already seen 10 years later. And I think the first thing I ever saw, I'm trying to remember it exactly, but I think it was Ric Flair It was a tag match. It was in a cage. It was Ric Flair and somebody else versus the Von Erichs.
Okay.
And I remember watching it and just being drawn to it and just immediately thinking there was something magical about it. And eventually my mother actually got a hold of WrestleMania 1, 2, and 3. I watched that. I must have watched that every day, driving my parents nuts, watching WrestleMania 1, 2, and 3 back to back every day for I don't know how many years. And then I remember getting WrestleMania 5, and how they used to do it in South Africa is they used to break up. You never got like the pay-per-view.
Right.
You would get like 2 matches on a random day in a random month, and you just had to wait for it. And
wow.
I just knew. I knew at 9 years old that's what I wanted to do.
That's definitely. I mean, the suspense of having to wait for the rest of that pay-per-view to watch it. I mean, that must have been nerve-wracking.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't know any better. We thought that's how it was. So I was just always waiting for it to come on. They always break it up. Like the whole pay-per-view would be broken up over 4 months. You get 2 matches there, and everywhere. It drives me nuts. But that's basically my first exposure to it. And the only exposure we got there really was WWF at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really. There was nothing else on TV. That was it. That was wrestling.
Okay.
That's what we saw.
Now, how old were you when you finally watched a pay-per-view in the States and you realized, wow, I get to watch the whole pay-per-view in one sitting?
Oh, well, eventually, so that caught up. It took a while, but they eventually did. Around 1994, they caught up, and then because we were under sanctions and embargo at the time, so 1994 when everything changed, we started to get American television, and then we could get pay-per-views and watch the entire thing in its entirety. So,
okay,
1994, everything changed.
Now you eventually, you did your work in indie, got noticed, got the developmental at NXT. You were working under a totally different gimmick than Adam Rose. When did that, like, whose idea was that to take you from what you were doing to say, all right, you're gonna be Adam Rose, the Exotic Express, the Bunny, and all those people dressed as sandwiches and everything else?
I actually liked the Leo Kruger character. I had nothing wrong with Leo Kruger character.
Right.
I wanted to go further with that character, but powers that be at the time decided that they wanted a change, and I was given, I think, exactly 2 weeks to make the change or be fired. And Adam Rose was legitimately just created in a promo class for Dusty Rhodes just to show that I could do something completely different to what I had been doing and to just show range.
Right.
And that was all it was. And I think Michael Cole was there and William Regal was there, and it was a hit like the moment we did it. And I don't know if it was a hit just because it was so different to anything I'd ever done, but they decided immediately on the spot that's what we were going to run with.
Well, it was definitely interesting, and I know that the fans loved it, and but it also gave chances to a lot of the local independent talent to join your Exotic Express, which I gotta get kudos to whoever's idea that was, because even a tiny exposure was still enough for a lot of these future stars to get, because a lot of them now are with WWE or TNA, so they got noticed.
You must remember the first time we ever did it, we used NXT talent that wasn't really being used at the time to do it. Mm-hmm. And the first time we ever did it was really cool because the guys all looked cool and wasn't sandwiches and whoopee cushions and hot dogs.
Right.
It looked like a nightclub emptying out, and that was sort of the idea. It was supposed to have this nightclub vibe, and it was literally we'd just been to the club and it emptied out into the arena. That was the idea. And then somewhere along the line, it became hot dogs and sandwiches and whoopee cushions. And we sort of lost our edge when that happened. But the character on NXT was much more edgier and much more what I wanted it to be than what it eventually became.
Right. I think once they got to WWE TV, they tried to make it more of the child-friendly look.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that ruins a lot of things.
I said my exact words were, when did we become Sesame Street?
At least you were nice and you said something nice to Sesame Street. I've heard worse.
Yeah. I said it to Hunter. I said, well, how did I become Sesame Street? This was supposed to be edgy in a nightclub. And he was like, and I still remember this because this reverberates in my brain over and over again. He turned to me and he said, sometimes you become the interpretation of your character rather than your actual character.
Yeah, that's a cop. That's a cop out.
Very interesting.
Yeah. That's a cop out for we're going in a different direction, and you have.
No, I don't think it was a cop out on his side. I don't think it was a cop out on his side at all. I think what had happened is, he understood the product. He understood what we were doing, but not everyone out there did.
Right.
So I think then what happens is there's too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, and things get changed, and they start to become something else. And you're literally hanging on for dear life to try and keep it to what the original concept was, but it's out of your hands at that point.
Yeah. Will we ever know who the bunny was?
Yeah, it was Justin Gabriel.
It was Justin Gabriel the whole time.
Well, 99% of the time, it was Justin Gabriel. Anytime there was physicality, it was Justin Gabriel.
Right.
Sometimes it was just extra talent, depending on the amount of physicality you needed. And we had some NXT boys do it as well, but 99% of the time it was Justin Gabriel.
I was hoping that, because it started looking more and more like the bunny was going to take on its own character and superstar status, and I was just like, please, oh my God, please no. I was just sitting there going, this is going to be awful. I mean, first it's going to be a bunny, then it's going to be, we just seen a chicken take on Colonel Sanders in the ring. I mean, it was... WWE is notorious for some really, really bad ideas, and
I'll be honest with you. You can never. The funny thing is, you can never really pinpoint who is responsible for the bad idea. but you can't really isolate who does it. But the bunny at one point was actually a hot commodity.
Right.
And people were waiting for this reveal, and unfortunately, they could never figure out what they wanted to do with the reveal. And there was like a bunch of names thrown around. Like Gabriel, I wanted to do it, but they felt at the time, because of the limited exposure he was getting, that it wouldn't get a reaction. And then they wanted, even Vince's name was thrown out there. Let's have you do it. And then Vince was like, why would I do it? And he was saying, well, you're a crazy billionaire. Why wouldn't you do it? So they could just never figure out who they wanted to actually reveal it as, and eventually they just sort of said, well, okay, I don't know. And
it fizzled out, and then you became a member of the Social Outcasts.
Yeah. And once again, that I think it was 5 o'clock on a Monday, just before we were called in and said, hey, by the way, you're a group. We all looked at each other and we're like, okay. And that was basically Jobber Squad 2.0. And it was, it funnily enough, though, started to actually get traction.
You did.
And we did. We were getting, especially on live events, some of the biggest pops. And it started to get traction. And I don't think that's necessarily what they wanted. But it started to get like a life of its own and actually start to develop.
I agree. I mean, and then you guys were huge on social media.
Yeah, well, that was sort of the idea. But I think we got a bigger reaction eventually than they expected it would get. And then I once again don't think they really knew what they wanted to do with it.
And see, I guess you can say it's kind of a trend with WWE. They come up with these ideas, they run with it, and then they kind of run out of gas a lot quicker than they should. Yep. It's like they don't think it. They like impulsively make decisions instead of thinking them through.
Well, you got to look at it this way, right? What if the Social Outcast wasn't a dead loss? And I'll tell you why. It got us TV time. These were 4 guys that weren't getting TV time, and it got us TV time. So in that way, it was a success. Mm-hmm. Was it ever going to go past what it was? I don't think so. Was it ever intended to be a big thing? I don't think so. Was there ever a plan as to what to do with it? I don't think so. But at the end of the day, it succeeded in doing one thing, getting us back on Raw and getting us back on television.
Right. All right. So now, when did this happen? When they came to you and said, what was the exact words they said to you when they decided to let you go?
Well, firstly, it wasn't like how can I put it? It wasn't like you're fired at any point. It was